Tears of the Kingdom is only a short breath away, and despite all the newfound complaints with the gameplay previews, the overall opinion is that this game's gonna be fantastic. It's even at the point where one of the previewers questioned or not we'd ever want to go back to Breath of the Wild. And honestly, it's a great question. Tears of the Kingdom takes everything we loved in Breath of the Wild and expands it tenfold and turns it into a triple layer Zelda cake with skies on the top and caves on the bottom, and the sweet and classic Hyrule in the center. Unless your favorite part of Breath of the Wild was in fact the Divine Beast or searching for all the memories, Tears of the Kingdom will return everything we loved, and even some hated, like the Korok puzzles. And although I can comfortably say that we won't have all the classic Zelda fans at peace, how might Breath of the Wild fans see this game, and how will they treat Breath of the Wild in the future? Starting off, we should see the aspects of Breath of the Wild that are mostly guaranteed to not return. I should say that most likely we won't be seeing the original runes, including the Master Cycle, Remote Bomb, Stasis, Cryonis, and Magnesis. We can presume the new bomb flowers to patch wind bombing, however, all the others, minus Stasis to an extent, will be exchanged for arguably better runes. Ultra Hand will work like Magnesis, but it also allows us to pick up anything that isn't glued to the floor, including some enemies with bags, if IGN is to be believed. With Cryonis and the Master Cycle, those are again replaced with the Ultra Hand and the leaked auto build. And although Ultra Hand is more cumbersome than a one-click Summer Master Cycle, I believe what it adds is going to be far more fun for exploration and gameplay of Tears of the Kingdom. And we've even seen that we'll be able to automatically build them later in the game. For Stasis, it appears to be gone for the most part, although Recall will act as a good way to move moving objects out of our path, and introduces new ways to look at puzzles and combat. Next, I would talk about Fuse, but we'll get back to that later. Continuing with other features sure to not return, we can look at the bosses. In Breath of the Wild, we were treated to 5 versions of Calamity Ganon, including Wind Blight, Water Blight, Fire Blight, and Thunder Blight, and Calamity Ganon. Then we had 2 Sheikah bosses with Koga and Mos Kosha, then rounding it all out with a glorified cinematic of Dark Beast Ganon. That's not to say I think all of Breath of the Wild was underwhelming, but the main dungeon bosses certainly were. And to say I'd be disappointed if we got 5 more bosses that all look and play the same would be an understatement. Tears of the Kingdom could certainly have 7 different variations of Zonai bosses, but I'd prefer not to think of that. So besides more minuscule details, that seems to be all that's staying behind in Breath of the Wild. So what do we have to look forward to returning in Tears of the Kingdom? Well, first off, we have a semi-glorious return of Korok Seeds. Will there be 900 of them? Will we get another golden crab for finding all of them? Who knows, but what we know is that they're back, and people love it and despise it. I'm personally more on the love it end, as I said in my hopes and wishes videos, however, I do understand the latter. Next, we have the possible returns of shrines. Although it's not been totally confirmed yet, I haven't seen any previewer talking about them yet either. I've decided to put shrines with a returning section because it's likely that these spiral rocks to be the new fill-in for the shrines, and we even see an entrance to them. Whether or not they'll behave the exact same way is undetermined, but it's likely from what we've seen that there's going to be many of them dotted across all layers of Hyrule. And one last thing guaranteed 100% to return in Tears of the Kingdom is Hyrule itself. Love it or hate it, we'll be exploring a very similar Hyrule to Breath of the Wild, and while it will have 2 more layers to explore, Hyrule is here and it's not going anywhere. Now, arguably the most important new feature for this game is Fuse. I've gone on and on and on about this in another video, so I have to say for you to watch my video discussing whether Tears of the Kingdom needs a story. Spoiler, it does, but I raised some interesting points. Check it out, but to boil it down, Fuse introduces nearly endless variations to combat. From the strategy of what you should fuse to your weapons, to even making a split-second decision on what to put on your arrows. The freedom Fuse gives us is truly insane and fixes one of the biggest fighting points of Breath of the Wild, being that of weapon durability. Now, if you really want to, you can continue fusing your weapon forever to prevent it from breaking, and if it does break, then you'll know it was preventable and your fault. Overall, Fuse is truly a game-changing mechanic, and it's amazing how there's people who still don't understand how impactful it is for the game. So why would we care about Breath of the Wild when this game is available for all to play? Well, honestly, as much as I love Breath of the Wild, from a gameplay perspective, we won't care. Even the graphics too. Tears of the Kingdom looks far better than Breath of the Wild in the most subtle of ways. Is this all to say that we'll never look or even touch Breath of the Wild again? Well, of course not. Tears of the Kingdom, again, is going to be far better in the best of ways. And in a few years, we may just think of Breath of the Wild as a flawed prequel. But that's really the point, isn't it? You can't have Smash Bros. Melee without Smash Bros. On the N64. You can't have Zelda Spirit Tracks without Phantom Hourglass. You can't have Majora's Mask without Ocarina. And that's just it. Majora's Mask introduced numerous better features that weren't in Ocarina, but both are still loved and adored the same way. Tears of the Kingdom will be great, and if I'm wrong, then I'll eat an entire jar of mayonnaise. But we'd never have the chance of Tears of the Kingdom being anything without Breath of the Wild, and we'll always love it for that. And that's what I've been feeling today. As of the original upload of this video, we are exactly 2 weeks from the launch of Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm nearly halfway to 1,000 subscribers. So if you could please take a moment to subscribe, it would be fantastic. And a huge appreciation to everyone who has subscribed and been watching my newest videos. You're truly what makes this so fun. And I have awesome stuff in the works for the coming release of Tears of the Kingdom, so make sure to hit the bell. I love y'all, and always keep cool.